Good afternoon, dear students, and welcome back to our today's online class. We are doing metallurgy chapter number 7, and in this chapter, we have finished our introduction. We have learned what do we mean by the term metallurgy, and we also revised activity series of metals in our previous class and its application in metallurgy. We also learned about few important terms such as gauge or matrix, flux, slag, ores, and I also discussed some ores of different metals in our previous class. In our today's class, we are going to discuss about extraction of metals from their ores. Now, before that, let us revise what do we mean by metallurgy. Metallurgy deals with the production and purification of metals and manufacture of alloys. So the process which deals with the production and purification of metals and also the manufacture of alloys is known as metallurgy. Now, to do the production and purification of metals, we need to first extract metals from their ores. Now, in order to extract the metals from ores, several physical and chemical methods are used. And the extraction method of particular metal depends upon the nature of its ores and the properties of the metal. Therefore, all metals cannot be extracted using the same method. There are different methods involved in the extraction of different metals. So let us try to understand these different ways by which we can extract metals from their ore. The extraction method of a particular metal depends upon the nature of its ore, like I said, and the properties of that metal. Therefore, we cannot extract all the metal by using the same method. So let us see the different steps involved in the extraction of metals. First, we need to have ore, because without ore we cannot start extraction of metals. So we need to collect ore. Now this ore comes in big sizes. Lumps of ores are found in the nature. Now to do any type of reaction with larger size is little difficult, or it is a slower process compared to fine particles of that ore. Therefore, the first step involves crushing and grinding of ore. The main aim of this step, crushing and grinding of ore, is to convert larger lumps of ore into its fine powder, which is done by using crushers or ball mills. And this process is also known as pulverization. The second step, now after the powder ore has been converted into its powder form, now the second stage is the concentration of ore or dressing of ore. We'll see what do we mean by this in later stage. Now this concentration of ore can be done again in different ways. It can be done by gravity separation, it can be done by froth flotation or magnetic separation, and even by using chemical, or which is also called leaching, chemical method or leaching. So concentration or dressing of the ore can be done by any of these four methods. This is the second stage. After concentration, now this concentrated ore needs to be again now converted into their oxides. So that conversion of concentrated ore can again be done by two ways, and they are roasting and calcination. So this is the third stage. Third stage involves converting concentrated ore into its oxide. Next is reduction. Now once the ore is converted into oxide, that means more oxygen is being added to the ore. Now The fourth stage involves removal of that oxygen which has been added in the ore or to the metal present in the ore. That process is called reduction. I hope you have remembered reduction in terms of oxygen and hydrogen. Reduction means removal of oxygen or addition of hydrogen. After reduction, now this reduction can also be done by two ways. They are by chemical reduction. Lesser active element, oxides of lesser active elements can be done by chemical reduction, whereas oxides of active elements such as sodium, potassium, aluminium, magnesium, they cannot be done by chemical reduction. They need to be done by electrolytic reduction. Now once they are reduced, the oxides are reduced, now we need to refine. The final stage is refining of the metal. Some impurities might be present. To remove those impurities, we need to do the refining process. And finally, after refining, we get pure metal. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps involved in the extraction of metal. General 5 methods or steps are involved. They are crushing and grinding, concentration or dressing of the ore, roasting and calcination, then reduction, refining, and finally after refining we get pure metal. In our today's class we are going to discuss about 2 stages: crushing and grinding of ore and concentration or dressing of the ore, and other steps we will discuss in our later classes. Now let us see the first step, crushing and grinding. Now ores which are collected from the source, they are crushed into fine powder with the help of big jaw crushers or ball mills in the ball mills. This process of crushing ores into fine powder is also known as pulverization. So this is an example of aluminium ore, bauxite. It is a huge stone. Now this bauxite ores, they are collected from the mines, taken to the factory, and they are grinded, converted into fine powder with the help of ball rollers or other jaw crushers. And finally we get this powdered form of bauxite ore. Now to do further process of extraction, it is much easier to do the further process of extraction with the help of powdered form of bauxite compared to the lump of bauxite. So that is why we need to do first step, crushing and grinding. Second step, it is the concentration or dressing of the ore. Concentration means to increase the quantity of ore. Now this process of removing, now we know that in ores there are some impurities mixed, earthy impurities like silica, sand. Those things are mixed with the ore. Now the process of removing impurities, which are called gauge, removing gauge, the earthy impurities like silica present in an ore, is called concentration of an ore or ore dressing. So if we remove the gauge or the impurity, then the ore left will be called concentrated ore. Now this concentrated ore, after doing concentration, the purified ore which we get is known as concentrated ore. I'm sorry for the disturbance. Concentration of ores can be done by any of the following methods based on the nature of the ore and the metal. Now let us see what are those metals or what are those processes, concentration processes. First, gravity separation. Number 2, either by froth flotation we can concentrate ores. Number 3, either by magnetic separation. And number 4, by chemical method or leaching. So concentration of ore can be done by any of the 4 methods based on the nature of the ore and the metal which we are extracting. Now let us discuss these 4 different methods of concentration of ore one by one. First, gravity separation. What is the principle behind this? The principle is difference in the densities of the ore and the gauge or the impurity. So difference in densities means more the density, heavier will be the object, lesser the density, lighter will be the object. So in this process we take those ores which are more denser than the gauge, so that the ore are heavier and the gauge are lighter. In this process we use water. That's why it is also called hydraulic washing. So we have this type of arrangement where there are certain grooves in the ramp, and over this ramp we make the fine powder of ore roll down this ramp with the help of water. We spray water, jet of water from the top, so that the ore along with gauge gets washed down, and at the same time the ramp is vibrated also. Now during this process the heavier ore gets settled in those grooves, whereas the lighter gauge particle gets washed down all the way down to another container. Now once the gravity separation is done, the gauge which gets collected at the bottom is removed, and the ore which gets collected in these grooves, they are collected separately, and hence the ore which we get is the concentrated ore. Now we apply this gravity separation to oxide ores of iron and tin, because iron and tin oxides are little heavier than the impurities present in their ore. Second method of separating or concentrating ore is magnetic separation. By the word magnetic, you must have understood that substances which gets attracted to by the magnet. So those substances which are magnetic in nature are separated by using this technique. So principle is magnetic properties of the ore. Now we have this type of arrangement where there is a roller, and in that roller there is a ramp attached to that roller. Now in the one end of the roller, at the far end of the roller, we have magnet, that is a magnetic roller. So when the powdered form of ore is passed over the roller rotates and brings the finely grounded ore towards the roller, which is magnetic in nature. Now this magnetic roller will attract the magnetic ore. The ore which has substances which are magnetic, it gets attracted and it falls nearer to the magnetic roller, whereas the non-magnetic substance gets dropped a little far and are connected in another container like this. So over here in this container, non-magnetic particles get collected, whereas in this container, which is just below the magnetic roller, magnetic ore gets collected. So this is how a magnetic separation technique helps to concentrate ores which have magnetic properties, or separate ores from ores which have magnetic property. For example, this magnetic separation is used to concentrate tin stone, oxide of tin, containing magnetic iron oxide Fe2O3 as impurity. So this process can be used to concentrate both tin ore as well as iron ore, because over here iron oxide is impurity, whereas tin is the desired ore. Now the impure substance or gauge over here is iron oxide, but this iron oxide can again be, which is separated, can again be taken to extract iron from it. So therefore this process can be used to concentrate both iron as well as tin oxides ore. Third process is froth flotation. Froth flotation. Now what is the principle behind this? The principle is preferential wettability of the ore with oil. So ores which gets covered, wettability means gets covered with oil, whereas the gauge gets covered with water. So the ores which gets covered or wet by oil, whereas the gauge which gets wet by water, these type of ores are concentrated by froth flotation. This is the arrangement in which we carry out the froth flotation technique of concentration of ores. Now there is a huge container in which from the entry part we add powdered ore, and we normally use fine oil and water. So mixture of powdered ore, oil and water are entered inside this huge container. Now once they all enter the huge container, now there is a arrangement of fan and the passage of air inside that container. Now once the fan rotates, it mixes all these three substances evenly, but since ore has the preference of being get wet by oil, now the ore particles gets covered with oil and they become light because oil is lighter than water. So the oil being lighter than water rises up carrying ore particles inside it, and hence they form froth and they float at the top, whereas the gauge particle gets wet by water, becomes heavier and they settle at the bottom. So this is how the gauge particle gets separated from ore, and the froth which remains at the top, they can be collected separately in another container like this, and this froth contains concentrated ore. I'll show you how froth looks like in real life. So this is how froth gets formed. So this is a fan which rotates whole mixture, and this is how the froth gets collected at the top. Now this froth gets removed, have to be collected separately, and the concentrated ore usually contains sulfide ore because they are lighter. Examples can be sulfide ores like zinc blende and galena, lead sulfide. These ores can be concentrated by froth flotation process. Sulfide ores like zinc blende and galena, they are concentrated by froth flotation process. Now let's move on to the last process, that is chemical method or leaching. Principle behind this is solubility of ores with certain suitable reagents such as acids, base or some other reagents. So some ores, they react, they become soluble in acid, bases or some other reagents, whereas gauge do not dissolve in this reagent, and hence the pure dissolved liquid is separated, whereas the sediment which gets settled at the bottom, they are removed and they will be gauge. Now, this is one of the way by which this chemical method or leaching process is carried out. This is for the concentration of gold. So this is the flow chart. This is not the real way by which gold is concentrated, but this is a flow chart which tells you, or which gives you an idea how metal ores can be concentrated by chemical method or leaching. Ores of silver, gold and aluminium, they are usually concentrated by this chemical method or leaching method. So these were the 4 different ways by which ore can be concentrated. However, the ores, even after their concentration, contain some impurities or gauge. after concentration process also some impurities remains. To remove this remaining gauge, fluxes are mixed with the concentrated ore, and we know what are fluxes. Fluxes are substances added to gauge to remove it. Now when the flux is added, this flux combines with the gauge to form a fusible mass called slag, which is lighter and floats on the surface of the molten metal and hence can be removed easily. So to add flux, we need to heat the concentrated ore, and to that hot concentrated ore we need to add flux. Now when flux is added to that hot molten ore containing some gauge, flux and gauge, they combine together, they form light slag. This light slag floats at the top, and those light slag can be easily removed, leaving mostly concentrated ore without impurities behind. So this is how the formation of slag can be shown by mathematical representation. Gauge plus flux forms slag. So with this, we end our today's class. Based on today's learning, there is an assignment for you, assignment 8. Please complete this assignment and submit your assignment 8 and other pending assignments by 5th, by Saturday, so that your marks can be added and can be uploaded on 6th. I will be accepting your all pending assignments till 5 p.m. of 5th of September, not after that. So please do your work fast. And another important information to you, your third open book exam will be on Monday, that is 8th instead of 5th, because 5th is Teachers' Day and there are other activities for you also. I hope I have made you clear about concentration of ore as well as crushing and grinding. And until we meet in our next class, stay safe and do all things well.